Welcome to Subramani. Talking further about debt, uh, there are three types of debt which people can have. One is debt for consumption, which means you want to make a foreign trip or even a domestic trip for a family, and you think you have to do it today. So therefore, you borrow for your expenses. Anything like that, could be a marriage, could be a funeral, could be anything. So borrowing for expenses. Second, borrowing for buying assets which are depreciating in nature, like your cell phone or your TV or anything like that. So that is another. And third is, the second category includes car. And the third is mortgage or borrowing for buying a house. In my head, of course, there is business borrowing and borrowing to invest, borrowing to buy shares, etc., leveraging your position. These are the 4-5 types of how debt can be broken. Ideally, you should have zero borrowing, but that's in an ideal condition. I can say I didn't borrow, or I did not need to borrow, or I do not need to borrow. That's a different thing. That is no use. People don't borrow because they love to borrow, because people borrow because they need the money today. You need the money to buy a bed at the age of 24, not at the age of 70, right? It is easy to say, if you had not bought this bed, you would have had 22 lakhs extra at the age of 70. That's fantastic, but I want the bed at 24, right? I need to sleep today. So there is always a value of money as on today, so that I can use it rather than put it in a dabba and let it grow over 25, 30, 40 years, whatever. So there will always be a conflict. But if you can make some rules saying, I will not borrow for my kharcha, for my spending. What will I do instead? I will start a recurring deposit in the bank for 1 year and use that money to buy the asset. Why did I not say SIP in a mutual fund? Because there is a good chance that somebody will come and tell you to put this money into some equity fund, and 1 year later the market will tank and you won't have money to buy your bed. So whatever is your short term requirement, it should be either in something like an ultra short bond fund, or it should be in a bank RD. From a tax point of view, both are the same, especially if you are going to withdraw it after 1 year. So it doesn't matter. You might as well have a simple product like an RD and not be stuck with some problem like what we had last year. So you're better off with a bank RD. So put it in a bank RD, wait for 1 year and buy your bed after 1 year, or buy your plasma TV after 18 months, whatever. Or you say, okay, my birthday is 6 months later, so I'll buy it after 6 months. That's fine, because in that period you would have put together some money. You can use that as a down payment, so your borrowing will go down. So first, have no borrowing. That's the best. But if you must borrow, borrow the minimum. If you just wait for some 12 months and you are able to save that 2,000-3,000 rupees per month, you will have 36,000 rupees or 40,000 rupees with which you buy whatever you want. Right? So, or you say 5,000 rupees per month, so you have 60,000 rupees, so you use that 60,000 rupees to buy, instead of borrowing that 60,000 on your credit card and ending up paying 1,20,000 as a total repayment, right? So you do that. Ideally, you should take a personal loan and borrow, and not borrow on credit card. Credit card loans are more expensive. So check out how much is the interest that you're paying, and then you sign up on the deal. Take as much as possible money from people whom you don't have to pay interest. Yes, of course, you have to repay the loan. So if your parent is willing to give you a loan, interest-free loan or something like that, take it by all means, because you can still save some interest. That brings us only to mortgage. Now, mortgage means, mortgage is derived from a French word where mort means die. So you realize what it is. Mortgage is that. It is, the words are death and pledge together. So that is what a mortgage is. So if you must borrow for buying a house, I have an article which says 2, 20, 30, 40 rule, which says don't borrow more than 2%, 2 times your CTC. Don't take the loan for 20 years. Make sure that your EMI does not exceed 30% of your take-home pay, and that you contribute at least 40% to the cost of the house. This is a rule for mortgage. So please don't violate that rule, because that rule is well thought of after a very long period of deliberation and reading. So stick to that. So borrow the minimum and repay over a period of time. Yes, over 20 years. Even if you want to repay over 30 years, it's okay, provided the house is going to appreciate at a rate greater than the rate of interest that you're paying. So let us assume you're paying 9% interest. The question to ask is the property appreciating by at least 9%? Because if it is less than 9%, it means again you are buying a depreciating asset with a rate of interest which is greater than the appreciation, right? Because it's not really an appreciating asset, we are calling it also a depreciating asset. So we do not know. So therefore the only loan which looks reasonably okay is the mortgage loan. And the mortgage is, again, like I said, a French word. Mort means to die. You've heard of post-mortem and pre-mortem kind of thing. So that is what it is. Even the loan to buy a house is not a great loan unless you are very confident that it will appreciate over 10-20 years. Or you say, oh, I can't keep changing houses, I need to buy a house, and someday anyway I have to buy, I'm wasting money on rent. You're not wasting money on rent. If you do mathematically, it may not make any sense to buy a house, but emotionally, if you want to buy a house because you think you have the money and you can afford the EMI, there is nothing wrong with it. But at least understand that a loan is okay only as a business loan, not even as an investment loan. Don't borrow to buy shares, because this feeling of I should also borrow and buy shares comes only in the peak market, right? It never comes in a bear market when everybody is saying, oh my God, share market mein to paisa doobna hi hai, there is no way to recover, so and so loss, you will hear. When you're hearing that, you don't feel like borrowing and buying. So when will you borrow and buy? You will borrow and buy at a peak, and then if the market tanks, you will have to sell some more things at home to service that loan. That's not going to be very easy. So don't borrow for anything other. Another way of summarizing this whole thing is to say, don't borrow for anything other than buying a mortgage. Personally, I didn't buy. I mean, you may or may not have to buy, but if you have to buy a house on rent, and you don't buy it unless you can make at least 40% down payment. So if you're looking at a 1 crore house, see whether you have 40 lakhs of cash available as your contribution. Don't contribute 5% and buy a house. Don't do that, right? So this is largely summarizing all that we saw. I have done videos on how if you borrow, you're making somebody else rich, which is true, because anybody who came to me in the 1980s, I would always suggest that yes, you must borrow from HDFC, because that was the only choice available. But along with the taking of the loan, also buy 100 shares. That was the advice which I gave to everybody. All those people are now today very well off because of that 100 shares growing, huge dividend payouts. They got firm allotments of HDFC Bank, HDFC Mutual Fund, HDFC Life Insurance, right? So everything put together, they perhaps made more money from that 100 shares of HDFC than from their house. I'm not saying don't buy, but I'm saying understand what you're borrowing and repay as fast as possible. Thank you. Welcome to Subramani. Continuing our series on debt. Of course, there are many reasons why not to borrow, and I can give you hundreds of them. But the greatest advantage of not having debt, and just because you could postpone your purchases, which means you said, okay, I will make a bank RD, end of 1 month, end of 1 year, I would have collected so much money, I'll buy that asset, or end of 3 years, I would have collected so much money, I'll buy my car. Whatever, you did that, and therefore you saved money. Most importantly, because you don't have debt, you had one amazing thing. You had something called peace of mind. You didn't have to worry, if I lose my job, what happens, or anything of those worries were not there, saying, okay, I have no debt. So that gives tremendous peace of mind. I don't think too many of us can calculate the economic value of peace of mind. It is huge. That is the reason why I don't do an FNO trade. I can go and sleep anytime I want, and I can afford not to log into the market to see for 2-3 days, unless somebody calls me and says, oh, this moved so substantially, is there something to suspect, or something like that, if you're talking about it. But otherwise, you can stay away from investment also. because somebody is working behind you automatically, right? When you have a debt, you're making somebody else rich because his money or her money is working with you and you are going to repay. So you're creating wealth for that person and you're denying an opportunity to your own self for creating wealth for yourself, right? So understand that there is peace of mind, and that's great. Financially speaking, you're free, and what can you then do because you're financially free? The exact amount by which you were paying the credit card debt or whichever debt it was, start doing an SIP. 2,000 rupees a month, 3,000 rupees a month, doesn't matter. If you're 25, 26 years of age, you've got another 30, 35 years to invest at least. It may be more, right? So it also lets you decide what you want to do with every month paycheck. Suppose your paycheck is X amount, whatever, 70,000 rupees, 33 lakhs of rupees, whatever. You decide where each rupee has to be spent. Of course, you will have your electricity bill and telephone bills, etc. But you choose to make those payments, right? That's a huge advantage. When you have an EMI, they choose that you will pay the interest, right? So therefore, you will have to look at that a little differently. You are making somebody rich, and also their opportunity to get richer is something which you are losing because you don't have enough money to compound, right? But there is always a mental payoff also for being debt free, that what should I say, think of money, getting out of debt. How does it really help you? Too many young people today have debt, which is in terms of expenses, foreign vacations, or bigger TV and things like that. It is actually stopping you from getting rich, right? You're making somebody else rich. You're not getting rich. Many people believe that if you you live only once, so you must do it today and you should not postpone. Postponing is the best thing that you can learn to become a good value investor or a patient investor, right? So shun debt. It is not very useful. Adjust your standard of living and make sure that you save enough and buy rather than borrow and buy. Thank you.